All right, greetings. Welcome back to the show. Listen here. We are here for a cause to bring awareness and show that we do care about the topic at hand. Yes, we do give commentary. Yes, we joke and play and things like that. But it's always a time where we can always come together and really have a decent conversation and really speak on the things that matter. Speaking of the things that matter, we have Karen Huger, who has entered into rehab, as we all know. And as we all have seen the video body cam footage of Miss Karen Huger when she was, taken into custody in Potomac. She is a housewife on Potomac, and we send prayers to her, not only to her, but her family as well, and the support system. I'll give you guys a background and maybe like a backstory on Miss Karen Huger. She's actually married. Her husband name is Raymond. Okay. Mr. Raymond is a great role model as a father, as a husband, as its caretaker, um, as a provider. You know, I want to say that Karen and Mrs. Huger have ran into some financial issues in the past. And Miss Huger stood right beside her husband. And that's one thing about life is, sometimes life will throw you lemons. However, it's time to make lemonade, you know? And I feel like with this happening, is bringing awareness and not only to drinking and substance abuse, but also mental health. Because, we have to, you know, if we're just drinking to feel better, yeah, we'll feel better in that moment, but it's what's going to happen afterwards. How are we going to feel afterwards? Everything is going to be right there after you come off that high. Yes. After you come off that high, you're gonna face the same thing that you were facing before you decided to pick up that drink and indulge. Mhm. And so I'm not speaking of a place from judgment. I'm speaking of a place from experience, correct? So we're going to get into this article. It says Karen Huger. And before we get into this article, I want to say a lot of people were like, when Karen's DUI story had come up and the ladies thought that it was funny to chime in, laugh about it and things like that. And one thing I can say about one of the newbies, Jazzy, and also Stacy, she seems very concerned. Jazzy was thoughtful in how she, you know, I mean, just I don't want to. I mean, it was a selfless act. It's like seeing people for meet them where they are. Like I want to say that Jazzy didn't come off as like she's looking for something to be wrong with Miss Karen. It was more of like hey, I could learn something from this lady, and through marriage. I mean, Miss Karen's been married for how many years? So yes, she had a setback or she backslid, but does that take away from what she really has to offer? You know, a lot of people have their difference in opinion. I think that Miss Karen is great for TV. She's definitely doing her thing, but there are some things that we could tighten up on. And I think accountability has really been her strength here lately because even on the episodes, I didn't see Miss Karen going over there like, oh, pass me a drink. Let me get, ish faced. Let me just, drink away my problems. It was not that. And I think that that was a positive if you really want to look at it. When we look at past castmates and, how their behaviors and things like that. I mean, with the Bravo franchise in general as a whole, let's just say Bravo as a whole, how many people have we really experienced on our televisions just go off the deep end, and just do some egregious things? We've had housewives and house husbands get arrested, So I just kind of feel like there's no greater wrong. And I think that we need to look for a solution rather than an issue. Karen Huger enters rehab, skips Real Housewives of Potomac season 9 reunion after being found guilty of 4 DUI. And shout out to people, they are reporting this. The official seating chart for the Real Housewives of Potomac season 9 reunion did not include Huger. Huger was sitting this reunion out. The seating chart for season 9 reunion of the Real Housewives of Potomac was released on Thursday, January the 9th, showing Stacey Rush, Wendy Osefo, Mia Thornton, host Andy Cohen, Giselle Bryant, Ashley Darby, and Kiana Stewart. But Huger's face was missing from the lineups. Huger's manager, Ryan Tresdell, explained her absence in a statement to People, first obtained by Bravo's Daily Dish. Karen made the important decision to enter a private recovery program, so was unable to attend the reunion taping today. The statement read, "She was fully supported in this choice. We stand behind Karen as she embarks on this meaningful journey and are proud of her for taking such a significant step forward in her personal growth." Round of applause. Round of applause. Listen here, I don't care if the step is like this little. A round of applause. The first step is admitting, like, hey, maybe there is something wrong. Let me go ahead and just maybe consider and check it out and see if it's going to work for me. But let me give it a chance. Let me just not just mark it off. I've been through so much in my life. People are seeing this, that, and the third. So maybe it just might be that I just need to go talk to somebody. That just might be it. And listen here, it's okay not to be okay, people. It's okay. When I heard about Miss Karen and on the episodes as it grew forward, her husband, the marriage, and things like that, and he's got some things that he has to complete on her list. So we're only getting to see a tidbit of her life, right? It's all jumped. It's all jammed into like an hour episode. The news comes just weeks after she was found guilty on charges of DUI and DWI from her March 2024 arrest. Fans in the comments expressed confusion over Huger's absence, with Real Housewives of Atlanta star Porsha even commenting, "Where's Karen? Where's Karen?" So Porsha jumped in and was like, "Where's Karen? Porsha, what were you doing?" Since Porsha want to jump in, we got to give Porsha her moment. Listen here, we love you, Porsha. How you doing? But Porsha, you were just over there in Africa doing it up, which I'm so proud of you. I really am. Let's get into it. So let's get into one of the castmates, was Jazzy. And we're going to pull this up because we did ask her when she stopped by the show, how does she feel about Miss Karen? And without further ado, let's play. A situation is coming up on the show. And recently here, I believe it was yesterday, the tabloids were saying that she wanted the body cam footage.
Say, people grieving, you do have to give them a little bit of grace.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Now, listen, speaking of grace, what are your thoughts on Karen? Her DUI situation is coming up on the show, And recently, here, I believe it was yesterday, the tabloids were saying that she wanted the body cam footage to kind of not be released. As far as the law and where Karen is, what can you say to that, if anything?
Here's the thing. It's always disheartening when somebody faces challenges, right? But, I believe in grace and the power of redemption. I haven't directly really addressed the issue with Karen yet, but, as a friend and a castmate, my friendships where, I would have thought that conversations and things like that were had would have stayed with. I can understand the frustration, and grief is something that just takes time. I lost my grandfather in 2020, and I can honestly say, people grieving, you do have to give them a little bit of grace.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
Now, listen, speaking of grace, what are your thoughts on Karen? Her DUI situation is coming up on the show. And recently, here, I believe it was yesterday, the tabloids were saying that she wanted the body cam footage to kind of not be released. As far as the law and where Karen is, what can you say to that, if anything?
Here's the thing. It's always disheartening when somebody faces challenges, right? But, I believe in grace and the power of redemption. I haven't directly really addressed the issue with Karen yet, but, as a friend and a castmate, my priority is to really offer her support rather than judgment. Everyone makes mistakes. It's not what, is most important about. It's really about how we move forward and kind of learn from those mistakes. I was shocked to learn that she had more than one DUI, which it doesn't make it any less or worse. The DUI in general is something that's just really hard to think about when you put yourself in the shoes of a person that has been affected from drunk drivers and things like that. But my thing is just always supporting the people that are in your life and moving forward in the most positive ways, and just holding your friends accountable as well is really important. And I think that Karen is taking some accountability for her actions, if those were her actions. The court documents and things like that hadn't really fully came out yet, and it's still a legal matter. So I don't like to have a strong opinion about a person that I've recently met, and I don't have the full details on the case, because it is a legal matter.
And see, this is why I keep saying, Jazzy, you are an excellent, even if you are a friend of the show, They need to give you your flute back because beauty, brains, grace, poise. It leads me to my next question. What was the hardest thing about filming for Real Housewives of Potomac?
Ooh, what was the hardest thing about filming? I guess for me, the hardest thing about filming was that I'm such a genuine person that I sometimes overshare. And I think that there were moments that I may have overshared with people who were not really offering me genuine friendship. And that's where I really took a dive in, the filming, or where I really felt like, oh, okay, now this is not enjoyable and things like that, in regards to just certain friendships where, I would have thought that conversations and things like that were had would have stayed between us. Those are the only things that were really hard, was just trying to differentiate